Welcome back. This channel exists because of your support. Subscribe, hit like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's get into the story. It happened on a Wednesday evening in late September, over a conversation about Thanksgiving that should have been simple. We were sitting in our living room in the Brookside neighborhood, the kind of quiet Kansas City evening where you could hear the neighbors' wind chimes through the open window. Lydia was scrolling through her phone while I nursed a beer, both of us tired from our respective workdays. So I was thinking, I said, maybe we could host Thanksgiving at our place this year. Have my parents come down from Philadelphia. Lydia's thumb stopped mid-scroll. She looked up at me with that expression I'd learned to recognize over 6 years of marriage, the one that meant I'd just suggested something that conflicted with the Warren family plan. My parents always come for Thanksgiving, she said. Not angry, just stating a fact. I know, but we haven't had my parents here in 3 years. I thought maybe we could alternate. She set her phone down on the coffee table with deliberate care. Andrew, I think we need to have a conversation we should have had a long time ago. I took a drink of my beer, already knowing I wasn't going to like whatever came next. My family will always come first in every major decision we make, Lydia said, her voice calm and even. That's non-negotiable. My parents are getting older. Penny needs stability and support. They're my responsibility. What about us? I asked. What about our marriage? Of course our marriage matters. But they're my blood. There's a hierarchy to these things. I set my beer down carefully, trying to match her composure. So where exactly do I rank in this hierarchy? You're my husband, Andrew. But you knew my family was important when you married me. Important and first priority are different things. She picked up her phone again. Don't be dramatic. This is just about Thanksgiving planning. But it wasn't just about Thanksgiving, and we both knew it. This was about every vacation planned around when her parents could come along, every weekend spent solving Penny's latest financial crisis, every major purchase that required input from Roger and Diane Warren before we made a decision about our own house. At least now I know where I stand, I said quietly. Lydia looked at me for a long moment, then went back to her phone. I need to call my mom about the menu. We're thinking of doing a turducken this year. She walked into the bedroom and closed the door. I sat on the couch, listening to the muffled sound of her voice talking to her mother, and something shifted inside me. Not rage, not even hurt exactly. Just clarity. She'd told me the truth. Finally, explicitly, she'd said what I'd felt for years but kept making excuses for. There was a hierarchy, and I wasn't at the top. The question was what I was going to do about it. That night, after Lydia fell asleep, I sat in our home office with my laptop open in private browsing mode. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator downstairs and the occasional car passing on the street. I typed my first search, legal separation versus divorce Missouri. I'd never seriously considered leaving before. Marriage was work, everyone said so. Compromise was normal. But as I read through articles about separation, asset division, and the legal process, I realized I wasn't researching how to save my marriage. I was researching how to save myself. By 2 a.m, I had a clear picture of our financial situation. Joint checking account, $12,400. Joint savings, $34,800. I'd contributed roughly $22,000 of that savings, and Lydia about $12,000. Our house, purchased 4 years ago for $285,000, was probably worth around $310,000 now. We still owed $218,000 on the mortgage. My 401k had $156,000, but $48,000 of that was money I'd saved before we got married. Her 401k had $89,000. My car was paid off. Hers had $8,200 left on the loan. I bookmarked 3 family law attorneys in Kansas City and 2 financial planners. Then I cleared my browsing history and went to sleep in the guest room, telling myself it was because I'd been up late working and didn't want to wake Lydia. The next day, during my lunch break, I drove to the Commerce Bank in the Country Club Plaza. The banker, a friendly woman named Stephanie Young, asked if my spouse would need access to the accounts I was opening. No, I said. These are for personal financial planning. She smiled like this was the most normal thing in the world. Many couples maintain individual accounts alongside their joint ones. It's actually quite smart. I opened an individual checking account with $1,000 from my personal cash and a high-yield savings account with $500. I had my statements sent to my work email and my debit card shipped to the office. When Stephanie asked if I needed anything else, I shook my head. "This is perfect," I said. "Thank you." That afternoon, sitting at my desk at the manufacturing firm where I worked as a senior accountant, I transferred $5,000 from our joint savings to my new individual account. It was well under my total contribution, completely defensible if questioned. I documented the transfer in a spreadsheet, noting the date and amount. Then I emailed 3 attorneys and 2 financial planners. By the end of the day, I had appointments scheduled. Frank Kester, a financial planner in Overland Park, could see me Friday at 5. Judith Marks, a real estate attorney downtown, had an opening Monday morning at 9. I went home that evening and found Lydia on the phone with her sister Penny. From the sound of it, Penny was crying about something car-related. I made dinner while Lydia paced the kitchen, making sympathetic noises and promising they'd figure something out. "Who's that?" I wanted to ask, but I already knew the answer. Friday afternoon, I sat across from Frank Kester in his office in Overland Park. He was in his early 50s, with gray hair and sharp eyes that didn't miss much. "So you're not asking about divorce," he said, reviewing the notes I'd sent him. "You're asking about financial independence while married." "I'm asking about options," I said. "I want to understand what building a separate financial life looks like." Frank nodded slowly. "Smart. You're thinking ahead instead of reacting. That's rare." He pulled up a spreadsheet on his computer. "Let's talk numbers. Your 401k has a clear premarital portion that's protected. The marital portion is potentially divisible if you divorce, but if you increase your contributions now, you're building more protected assets for your future. How much can I contribute? Maximum is $23,000 a year. You're currently doing 6% of your salary, about $5,500 annually. If you max it out, your take-home drops significantly, but your retirement security increases dramatically." I did the mental math. My take-home would go from $5,800 a month to about $4,200. "Correct. Can you live on that?" I thought about my half of the mortgage, utilities, and household expenses. About $201 a month. "Yes." "Then I'd recommend maxing it. Also, opening a Roth IRA with a $7,000 annual limit and building an emergency fund in your individual savings. 6 months of solo expenses, call it $18,000. "How fast can I build that?" Frank smiled. "If you contribute $201 a month after your household expenses, about 9 months for the full emergency fund. But you'll feel secure with even $10,000, and you can have that in 5 months. I left Frank's office with a plan. Max the 401k. Open the Roth IRA. Build the emergency fund at $2,100 a month. In 6 months, I'd have real independence. In a year, I could afford to live completely separately if I chose to. The consultation cost $400. I paid it from my individual checking account and didn't think twice. Saturday morning, Penny's crisis became our crisis. Or rather, Lydia's crisis that she assumed would become our crisis. Her car got repossessed, Lydia said, hanging up the phone with a sigh. She needs $3,800 by Monday to get it back, or they'll auction it. I was making coffee, my back to her. How did she let it get repossessed? Does that matter right now? She needs help. I turned around. What's your plan? We have savings, Lydia said, like it was obvious. We can loan it to her. I'm not comfortable with that. Lydia's eyes widened slightly. In 6 years of marriage, I'd pushed back on helping her family exactly twice, and both times I'd eventually given in. Why not? It's an emergency. It's a consequence. She missed payments. That's her responsibility. She's family, Andrew. We help family. You help your family. This is your decision. The kitchen went very quiet. Lydia stared at me like I'd started speaking another language. What's that supposed to mean? It means exactly what you said Wednesday night. Your family comes first. This is your family, your priority. Handle it however you think is best. Since when do we have your money and my money? Since you clarified the hierarchy. Her face flushed. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I meant that family is important. That we should support them. Your family, I said quietly. You should support them. Lydia grabbed her phone and went upstairs. I heard her on the phone with her parents, then with Penny again. By Sunday afternoon, the Warren family had scraped together $2,000. Lydia transferred $1,800 from our joint savings without asking me. I transferred another $2,000 to my individual account that night while she slept. The joint savings were down to $26,000. She hadn't noticed yet. Monday morning, I called in sick to work and met with Judith Marks at her office downtown. She was in her late 40s, sharp as a blade, with a no-nonsense demeanor I appreciated immediately. 6-year marriage, no kids, considering separation, she said, reviewing my situation. What's driving this? Fundamental incompatibility about priorities. Abuse? Infidelity? No, just honesty. She told me her family comes first in every major decision. I believe her. Judith leaned back in her chair. And you want to understand your options without filing for anything yet. Exactly. Smart. Missouri allows legal separation, which is like divorce, but you stay married on paper. You can divide assets, live separately, maintain separate finances. It's cheaper and faster than divorce if both parties agree. What about the house? Bought during marriage, so it's marital property. But the court looks at contributions. If you can document that you paid more toward the mortgage or down payment, you might get a bigger share of the equity. If she wants to keep it and can refinance in her name alone, you'd get your equity portion as cash. What would separation cost? If it's uncontested and we use mediation, $5,000 to $8,000 in legal fees. If she fights it, could go up to $30,000. I took a breath. And I can build separate finances while we're still married and living together? Absolutely. You can open individual accounts, move your own money, build your own assets. As long as you're not hiding marital property or lying about it if asked, you're fine. You're organizing, not concealing. I left Judith's office with clarity. I wasn't ready to file anything yet, but I was ready to build my escape route. The retainer would wait, but I had her number. October arrived with cool weather and Lydia's increasingly obvious frustration with my distance. I'd stopped initiating conversation about her family, stopped offering to help solve problems, stopped asking how Penny was doing or if her parents needed anything. At first, Lydia tried to draw me back in. Mom's worried about Dad's dental appointment. She'd say over breakfast. I'd nod and say, hope it goes well, and return to my coffee. She started working late more often, which meant more time on the phone with her family. I spent my evenings at the gym I'd joined, or reading in the guest room where I'd been sleeping for 2 weeks now. Why are you sleeping in there? She'd asked the first few nights. You have early mornings. I don't want to wake you when I come to bed late. It was a flimsy excuse, but she accepted it because she was too busy managing her family's crises to examine our marriage closely. My emergency fund grew. $5,000, then $8,000, then $11,000. My 401k contributions increased. My brokerage account opened with Vanguard with a $2,000 initial investment and $500 automatic monthly transfers. I bookmarked apartments in Westport, Waldo, and Midtown Kansas City. One Saturday afternoon while Lydia was at her parents' house, I toured 3 places. The Waldo apartment felt right immediately. Then Roger Warren needed dental work. It's bad, Lydia said, standing in the kitchen doorway one Tuesday evening in mid-October. He needs implants. $6,400. Insurance only covers $1,200. I looked up from the chicken I was grilling. That's rough. We need to help him, Andrew. He's in pain. What's your plan? Her jaw tightened. Our plan. We help him. I don't have a plan for this. We have savings. You have savings. I've reorganized my finances. Lydia pulled out her phone and opened our banking app. I watched her face change as she saw the balance. $26,000, down from the $34,000 it had been a month ago. Where did $8,000 go? Her voice was very quiet. I transferred my contributions to my individual accounts. You did what? I moved my money to accounts in my name. I documented everything. You can check the records. That's our money. It was my contributions to a joint account. I withdrew my portion. It's completely legal. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Why would you do this? You told me your family comes first. I'm prioritizing myself accordingly. That doesn't mean abandon my family in crisis. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm simply not funding their crises. What about my dad's teeth? I flipped the chicken. What about them? He's your father, your priority, your responsibility. Lydia's voice rose. I can't believe you're being this selfish. I'm being exactly what you taught me to be. Self-prioritizing. My dad is in pain. Then your family should figure it out. That's what families do, right? You're my family. I turned to face her fully. Am I? Or am I third in your hierarchy? Because you were pretty clear about that. She opened her mouth to argue, then grabbed her keys and left. I heard her car start, then the sound of it pulling away. She didn't come home that night. When she finally returned the next afternoon, she didn't speak to me. The Warrens got Roger a Care credit card with brutal interest rates. Diane contributed what she could. Penny, predictably, contributed nothing. Roger got his dental work. And our separation became absolute, each of us in our own bedroom, living like strangers under one roof. We lived like polite strangers for the rest of October. She handled her family's crises alone. I came and went without explanation. We split the household bills evenly and spoke only when necessary. I transferred another $2,000 to my individual savings. Found an apartment in Waldo, 1 bedroom, $1,150 a month, available December 1st. Called my friend Dennis Cole, who owned a moving company. I need help moving, I said. Where are you going? Away from here. Dennis was quiet for a moment. You need this? Yeah, I do. Then I'll help you. No charge. Late one Thursday evening in early November, Lydia found me reading in the living room. She'd been avoiding me successfully for days, but something had shifted. She sat down on the other end of the couch. Are you planning to leave me? She asked. I closed my book. I'm planning to live independently. That sounds like leaving. That sounds like accepting reality. What reality? The one where I'm not your priority. Never was, never will be. Her voice cracked slightly. Marriage isn't about rankings. You literally told me there's a hierarchy. Your family first, always. I'm just respecting what you said. Are you filing for divorce? I'm moving to an apartment on December 1st. The legal details can wait. She pulled her knees up to her chest. Can we talk about this? Go to counseling? What would that change? Your priorities? We could find a compromise. There's no compromise with first place, Lydia. Either I matter most, or I don't. You've made it clear where I stand. She left the room without another word. The next morning over coffee, I told her the full plan. I'm moving on December 1st to an apartment in Waldo. I'll pay my half of the mortgage through January. After that, you can refinance in your name, sell the house, or find a roommate. Not my problem anymore. I can't afford this place alone, she said, her voice small. Then sell it or get a roommate. You'll figure it out. Please don't do this. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm doing something for myself. She called her mother, sobbing. I heard Diane's voice through the phone, tinny and urgent. Suggestions about apologizing, about putting me first, about fixing this. But Lydia and I both knew the truth. She couldn't put me first. Her family would always need her more than I did. And I was done competing for a position I'd never win. Thanksgiving approached. Lydia asked what we were doing for the holiday. You should do whatever you want with your family, I texted back. What are you doing? Going to Philadelphia. Seeing my parents. Without me. Without you. Her mother called me directly the next day. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. Andrew, we'd love to have you for Thanksgiving, Diane said, her voice warm and slightly desperate. Thank you, Diane, but I have other plans. Lydia says you're going to your parents? That's right. We miss you. You're part of the family. I took a breath. Diane, I appreciate that sentiment. But Lydia made it clear I'm not priority family. I'm just respecting her honesty. She didn't mean it that way. She meant it exactly that way. And that's okay. But I'm not going to keep pretending otherwise. Can't you forgive her? There's nothing to forgive. She told me the truth. I adjusted. I hung up and booked my flight to Philadelphia. Thanksgiving week, I flew out Wednesday morning. My parents picked me up from the airport, and within an hour of being in their house, I told them everything. About the hierarchy comment, about the financial separation, about the apartment. My mother cried. My father, typically stoic, put his hand on my shoulder and said, You deserve to be someone's first choice. I spent 4 days in Philadelphia eating my mother's cooking, watching football, and sleeping better than I had in months. Meanwhile, back in Kansas City, Lydia spent Thanksgiving at the Warren house, fielding questions about where I was and enduring what I imagined were Penny's thoughtless comments. When I returned Sunday evening, the house was dark. Lydia's car was in the driveway, but she was already asleep. I went to the guest room and started packing boxes. The week after Thanksgiving, we divided our furniture. It was clinical, emotionless. I took what I'd brought into the marriage and what I'd purchased individually. My desk, my dresser, the guest bedroom furniture I'd bought, the TV from the basement. I left the living room furniture she'd selected, the master bedroom set her parents had given us as a wedding gift, the dining room table. "You're stripping the house," she said, watching me label boxes. "I'm taking what's mine. You're keeping 70% of the furniture. What am I supposed to sleep on in the guest room? Not my concern. I'll be sleeping in my apartment." December 1st arrived cold and gray. Dennis showed up at 8 in the morning with his truck and 2 helpers. Lydia stayed in the master bedroom with the door closed while we loaded everything. It took 4 hours. 4 hours to pack up 6 years of marriage and move it into a truck. When we were almost done, Lydia emerged. "Can we talk?" she asked. "One last time." I paused, a box in my hands. "What's left to say?" "I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said that about my family." "Don't be sorry for honesty. Be sorry you meant it." "What if I said you come first now?" I set the box down. "Then I'd know you were lying to get me to stay." "How do you know that?" "Because if I came first, you wouldn't need to say it. It would just be true." I pulled my house key off my keyring and set it on the kitchen counter. "Call Judith Marks. She'll handle the separation agreement." Lydia's eyes widened. "You already have a lawyer?" "I've had one since October." "I love you," she said, tears streaming down her face. I looked at her for a long moment. "I believe you do. But not enough." "Enough for what?" "Enough to put me first. And that's okay. We both know the truth now." I got in my car and followed Dennis's truck to Waldo. By 5 that evening, everything was unloaded. Dennis and his guys helped me set up the bed and hang the TV. I ordered pizza for everyone. "You good?" Dennis asked before he left. "Better than I've been in years." That night, in my new apartment, I ate leftover pizza on my couch, watching whatever I wanted on TV. No phone calls about Warren family drama. No guilt about not helping. No hierarchy. Just me. It was the best night I'd had in 6 years. December passed in a blur of establishing routines. Morning coffee, gym, work. Evening cooking, reading, complete silence. No interruptions, no crisis calls, no emergency family meetings. Lydia texted every day for the first week. "Can we talk? I miss you. Please reconsider." I responded once. "I need space. Please respect that." By week 2, the texts slowed. By week 3, they stopped. Mid-December, Judith called. "Your wife reached out. She wants to formalize the separation." "Good. Let's make it official." The separation agreement was straightforward. Lydia would keep the house and refinance in her name alone by March. When she did, I'd receive 40% of the equity, about $24,600, based on the current appraisal. The remaining joint savings would be split 50-50, giving us each $13,000. We'd each keep our own 401ks and cars. Lydia would handle her car loan. No spousal support since we both had sufficient income. It was clean, fair, and final. Christmas week, Lydia texted to tell me she was spending the holiday with her family. I was already at the airport, heading back to Philadelphia. My parents asked how I was holding up. Honestly, I said, "Great. Clearer than I've been in years." Back in Kansas City, at the Warren house, Roger asked about me. Lydia had to explain that we'd separated, that I'd moved out. Diane asked if she could fix it. Penny, predictably, made some comment about me being uptight about money. And Lydia sat there, surrounded by her family, her first priority, and realized that this would never end. They would always need something. Andrew had seen it before she did. I spent New Year's Eve alone in my apartment with takeout and a movie. At midnight, I raised a glass of bourbon to myself. No resolutions needed. I'd already changed my life. March arrived with the separation finalized. Lydia and I met at Judith's office to sign papers. She'd successfully refinanced the house. I received my equity check for $24,600. The joint savings split gave me $13,000 more. We sat across from each other at the conference table, and she looked tired, thinner. "How have you been?" she asked. "Good. Really good." "I'm glad." Judith summarized everything. "You're now legally separated. To convert to divorce, either party can file after 1 year. For now, you're separated spouses with no financial obligations to each other." In the parking lot afterward, Lydia stopped me. "Can I ask you something?" "Okay. Do you hate me?" I considered the question. "No, I don't feel anything but relief." She flinched. "That's somehow worse." I drove back to my apartment, deposited the equity check into my brokerage account, and met with Frank for our monthly check-in. My net worth had crossed $215,000. My emergency fund was complete at 22,000. My 401k was growing steadily. I was on track for early retirement. You've built exactly what you planned, Frank said, reviewing my spreadsheet. How does it feel? Like freedom. Then April came, and with it, Penny's next disaster. An unknown number texted me. Andrew, this is Penny. I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. I know you and Lydia split, but I need to ask you something. She called. I answered. I'm in serious trouble, she said. DUI. I need $8,500 for a lawyer, or I'm going to jail. Why are you calling me? Lydia doesn't have it. Mom and Dad don't have it. You always had money. I have money because I don't spend it on other people's problems. This is serious. I could go to jail. That's a consequence of drunk driving. Please. Lydia said you'd understand family emergency. Lydia and I are separated. Her family isn't my concern. You're still married. On paper only. The answer is no. What if I promised to pay you back? No. What if Lydia asked herself? Still no? You're really going to let me go to jail? You're really going to drive drunk and expect other people to fix it for you? Those are your choices and your consequences. Goodbye, Penny. I hung up and blocked the number. Felt nothing but relief. Made a mental note to mention it to Judith in case Penny escalated. Then, late April, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I'd been expecting a call from an HVAC repair company, so I answered. Andrew? It's Lydia. Please don't hang up. I almost did anyway. What do you want? My dad had a stroke. He's in the hospital. Something in my chest tightened slightly. I'd always liked Roger. I'm sorry to hear that. They don't know if he'll recover fully. Mom's a mess. That's very difficult. He needs extensive rehab. Insurance covers some, but we need $22,000 for the facility that can actually help him. And there it was. The ask. Always the ask. Lydia, we're separated. Your family emergencies aren't my responsibility. This is my father's life. And it's your family's responsibility to handle it. You have money. I know you do. How do you know about my financial situation? I asked around. People talk. You got a raise or something in the winter. So she'd been keeping tabs on me. Not because she cared how I was doing, but because she needed to know if I had resources she could use. She was right. I'd gotten a modest cost of living increase in February, though I'd never mentioned it to her. You have money and you won't help? I have money because I planned carefully and said no to things exactly like this. How can you be so cruel? How can you be so surprised? You told me your family comes first. They're your priority, your responsibility. Are you seriously throwing that back at me now? Her voice rose. My father could have permanent brain damage. That's terrible, but it doesn't create an obligation for me. What if I said I was wrong? That you should have been first? Then I'd know you were lying to manipulate me into giving you money, which is even worse than being honest was. She started crying. Please, I'm begging you. I'll pay you back. With what money, Lydia? You refinanced the house. You make $78,000 a year. Your family always needs help. You won't pay me back because something else will come up. It always does. I'll figure it out. No, you won't. And I'm not enabling this anymore. What about our marriage vows? In sickness and health? We're separated. Those vows ended when you told me where I ranked. You're punishing my father for what I said. I'm protecting myself from what you'll always prioritize. Your family will always need you. They'll always come first. You told me that. I finally listened. Goodbye, Lydia. I hung up and blocked that number too. Sat in my apartment for a long moment, feeling sad for Roger. I hoped he'd be okay. But it wasn't my problem to solve. Wasn't my family to save. Wasn't my responsibility to carry. I went for a walk. Came back. Slept peacefully. May brought escalation. Diane tried calling my work. The receptionist blocked future calls after I requested it. An email from Lydia's mother appeared in my inbox. I deleted it unread. A LinkedIn message from Penny showed up. I ignored it. A letter came to my apartment. I shredded it unopened. Frank called me mid-month. Someone named Lydia tried to reach me about you. What did she want? Money for a family emergency. I told her I don't discuss clients and hung up. Thank you. Please block her number. Already done. A mutual friend, Kelly Harper, texted. Heard about Lydia's dad. That's rough. It is. Hope he recovers. She says you refused to help with medical costs. We're separated. I'm not responsible for her family's finances. Even for something life-threatening? Especially then. That's too much to ask from an ex. Kelly was quiet for a moment. Then, I get it actually. She always put her family first. Above everything. She told me that explicitly. I finally listened. You seem happier. I am. Then you made the right choice. I learned through acquaintances that the Warrens started a GoFundMe. They raised $8,400, short of their $22,000 goal. Roger went to a cheaper facility. His recovery was slow but progressing. Diane blamed me to anyone who would listen. I didn't care. June arrived warm and bright. 6 months since I'd moved out. I sat in my apartment one Saturday morning, coffee in hand, and took stock. My net worth had reached $242,000. My 401k was at $180,000. My brokerage account held $32,600, including the equity payout I'd invested. My emergency fund sat at $22,000. My checking had $7,200. I had zero debt and a credit score of 812. I joined a gym and went consistently. Taken up woodworking as a hobby, renting space at a community workshop. Reconnected with old friends. Started dating casually, nothing serious. Had complete autonomy over my time, my money, my decisions. I met with Frank that afternoon. You're ahead of every projection, he said, reviewing my portfolio. At this pace, you could retire at 55 with full financial independence. What does that look like? Enough passive income to live comfortably without working. Complete freedom to make choices based on what you want instead of what you need. I walked through Luce Park on Sunday morning, coffee from my favorite shop in hand. The day was beautiful, warm but not hot, with families having picnics and dogs playing in the grass. I thought about where I'd been a year ago. Stressed, second priority, funding other people's crises, living in a marriage where I'd never be first. Now, peaceful, stable, autonomous. The contrast was stark and perfect. Some people teach you what you need by being honest about what they can't give. Lydia did that. She told me her truth. I'd always be grateful she was honest, even if it hurt, because that honesty gave me permission to build something better. September came around again, marking 1 full year since she'd told me about her hierarchy. I'd moved to a nicer apartment in Midtown in July, upgrading to a month-to-month lease while I considered buying a small condo. I was dating Claire, an architect who was independent and drama-free. She knew the whole story and respected my boundaries. Work had promoted me to controller. My salary jumped from $94,000 to $112,000. I increased my retirement contributions immediately. I took 2 weeks off and went to Italy alone. Flew into Rome, trained to Florence, then up to Switzerland. Complete freedom. No checking with anyone. No obligations. Just exploration. Sitting at a cafe in Florence one morning, cappuccino and cornetto in front of me, I thought about Lydia briefly. Wondered how she was doing. Hoped she was okay. Felt nothing but distance. Back in Kansas City in early December, an email appeared in my inbox from a new address I didn't recognize. Subject line, a year later. I almost deleted it. Instead, I read it once. Andrew, I don't expect a reply. I'm writing for myself. It's been a year since you moved out. You were right about everything. Dad is recovering slowly. Still needs help. Mom is overwhelmed. Penny got another DUI. I'm drowning in their problems. It never stops. You saw what I couldn't see. They'll always need me, and I'll always prioritize them. I told my therapist what I said to you. About hierarchy. She asked if I'd say it again. I couldn't answer. Because yes, I probably would. My family does come first. It's who I am. You deserve someone who put you first. I hope you found that, or will. I'm sorry I couldn't be that person. But I'm not sorry I was honest with you. You built a life you wanted because I told you the truth. I hope it's a good life. Lydia. I read it twice. Felt a strange mix of sympathy for her situation and gratitude for her honesty, both then and now. Relief that I'd gotten out. No regret. No desire to respond. Some conversations are complete without reply. I deleted the email, closed my laptop, and went for a morning walk with Claire. We discussed our plans for the week. Life continued forward. Christmas Eve, I hosted a small gathering at my apartment. Claire, Dennis, Kelly, a few work friends. My place was warm, decorated the way I liked, full of people who valued me. Everyone left around 11. Claire stayed to help clean. This was lovely, she said. Yeah, it was. You seem really content. I smiled. I am. Do you ever regret how things ended with your ex? Never. Not even a little. She told me her truth. I honored it by leaving. Claire nodded, then asked quietly, "My ex used to say I was too independent. Made me feel bad about it." People tell you who they are, what they value, what they need. You have to decide if you can live with that truth. And if you can't, then you adjust. Protect yourself. Build something different. She kissed me goodnight and left around midnight. I finished cleaning, looked around my small apartment. Not much space, but it was mine. No obligations I didn't choose. No priorities but my own. No hierarchy putting me third or fourth. Just autonomy, peace, stability. When someone tells you where you rank in their priorities, believe them. Then decide what you're going to do about it. I decided to rank myself first. Best decision I ever made. Christmas morning, I woke up alone. Made coffee, opened modest gifts I'd bought myself. Video called my parents at noon. Spent the afternoon volunteering at a food bank, a new tradition I'd started. Had dinner with friends who'd stayed in town. The life I'd built wasn't dramatic or glamorous. It was just mine. Built on my choices. Funded by my discipline. Shaped by my boundaries. Exactly what I wanted. 1 year ago, I'd been freshly separated. 9 months ago, legally separated. Now, thriving independently. Lydia had taught me the most valuable lesson. Believe people when they tell you what matters to them. Then build a life accordingly. I did. And it was better than anything I could have had staying in second place. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.